As a candidate for president, Trump labeled the UN as weak and incompetent, and not a friend of either the United States or Israel. But he has softened his tone since taking office, telling ambassadors from UN Security Council member countries at a White House meeting this year that the UN has tremendous potential. Trump and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will speak at the meeting. The U.S. has asked member nations to sign a declaration on UN reforms, and more than 100 have done so. The president wants the UN to cut spending and make other operational changes. Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, said Trump's criticisms were accurate at the time, but that it is now a new day at the UN. An organization that talked a lot but didn't have a lot of action has given way to a United Nations that's action-oriented, she said, noting the Security Council votes on North Korea this month. Guterres has proposed a massive package of changes, and Haley said the UN is totally moving toward reform. We said that we needed to get value for our dollar, and what we are finding is the international community is right there with us in support of reform. So it is a new day at the UN, she said Sunday on CNN's State of the Union. She said Trump's pleas had been heard and what we'll do is see him respond to that. Trump also planned to hold separate talks Monday with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and French President Emmanuel Macron. U.S. National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster said the conversations would be wide-ranging, but that Iran's destabilizing behavior would be a major focus of Trump's discussions with both leaders. Breakthroughs on a Middle East peace agreement are not expected. Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor on the issue, recently returned from a trip to the Middle East. Trump told Jewish leaders on a conference call last week that his team is working very hard to achieve a peace agreement between the Israelis and Palestinians, and that he hoped to see significant progress on a deal before the end of the year. Trump is scheduled to meet later this week with Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. Trump was also hosting a dinner for Latin American leaders. Venezuela, which has been gripped by economic and political turmoil, will be discussed, McMaster said. The United States is the largest contributor to the UN budget, reflecting its position as the world's largest economy. It pays 25% of the UN's regular operating budget and over 28% of the separate peacekeeping budget, a level of spending that Trump has complained is unfair. The Trump administration is conducting a review of the UN's 16 far-flung peacekeeping operations, which cost nearly $8 billion a year. Cutting their costs and making them more effective is a top priority for Haley. Guterres has said he is totally committed to reforming the UN and making it more responsive to the needs of the 21st century world. As for the peacekeeping budget, he said last week that his intention is to do everything possible to make the missions the most effective as well as cost-effective.